appreciate you being here with me to have another Polarity Lab session. And the first thing I want to bring up, just for anybody watching this, because you and I have been talking about, and I put out a video yesterday for this winter wellness fair that was coming up this Saturday. They are postponing it into February. So they're moving it to February 7th because we're supposed to be getting dumped on with snow in Louisville Saturday through Sunday. And so that's the situation for that. And so we'll update that and I'll put out a new post. I was going to record a video just mentioning that too to put out sometime this week. And then we'll keep people posted as we get closer to the February 7th date. The details otherwise will be the same.
Yay, thank you. Thanks for, yeah, for sharing that out.
I think it's the good move. Safety is important for everybody. And, that's what we're going to talk about for our topic too, for our Polarity Lab session today. And that's going to be a really cool event. So it will be fun. And hopefully some people will come out and want to talk to us about polarity and the Polarity Lab and relationship dynamics. And yeah, and today, you and I, we're going to talk a little bit about safety for polarity, safety for the feminine, but it's also effectively safety for the masculine energetically. I mean, these are both important, aspects to be considering when we talk about this.
Yeah, I do think it is more definitely a feminine issue than a male issue. From the physiological level, the
Mhm.
woman's arousal takes quite some time. It's long before the touch even happens.
Right.
Like arousal or desire for the woman, is everything leading up to the touch. So if the touch is immediate, then it might not be well received.
Right, right. And so what we're talking about, right, is that the idea of the feminine energetically, it's about energy and opening and flow, and it wants to open for the masculine, towards the masculine, right? The masculine provides the direction, but if there's a masculine energy, or for example, touch from a partner towards the feminine, and it gets perceived as what maybe aggressive, not it's not sensing where the feminine is energetically, then that's not safe. That doesn't feel like a safe touch, right? And this happens even in relationships with people who love each other very much and aren't we're not talking about necessarily like scared, like I'm scared for my actual physical safety, like this person's gonna harm me. It doesn't have to be that extreme, right? It can simply be, oh, this person is bringing an energy to me and I wasn't ready for this, or it's not clear what the intent is here. And it's maybe bringing up stuff from the past, and all of these things result in not feeling safe to fully open, even though it may not be conscious that that's what's happening, right?
Yeah, but I do think too, like on the biological level, I mean, as a woman, if you're gonna, let's just say in the dating world, not in a long-term relationship, but like in the dating world, women are physiologically, musculature wise, like much smaller framed typically, not always, obviously, but women's musculature is usually lesser weight than a male's. And so just the brute force that a man can have. So like even though it's not necessarily like your brain's thinking, is this person safe? Your energy field is still scanning for safety on a subconscious level. I mean, if you think about like pre-modern times, I mean, you had to make sure that you were safe. So I think that we tend to go right into like, is it a thought process? But I do believe there's a lot of pheromones, there's a lot of biological and gestures and communication that happen on the primal level that can't be ignored, especially for women. So yeah, in a long-term relationship, clearly those roles have been established, or like the the, you know, the time that you've spent with somebody, you have a deeper understanding of whether you're safe or not safe in that regard. But it still can't be ignored, the biological like pheromones slash like gesture communication that's happening in the introduction of a man and a woman to one another. And I think probably males don't necessarily experience this quite the same way that a woman does, especially, you know, if you're a woman that gets a lot of attention, um, in the in that space, it can, you have to have your boundaries up to some extent to know that you're safe. I mean,
Right.
it's not something that I think like we think about like it's like a subconscious, but like I know sometimes when I'm just like walking through a parking lot or someone's opening a door for me, like I love those grand gestures of somebody opening a door, but again, like kind of on that like instinctual level, you'll follow their gestures, their behavior, their eye contact, like the demeanor of the male just to kind of scan your environment for safety, you know, before anything is even initiated. And this is important because, there's been a lot about men not knowing how to show interest in a woman because of
Mhm.
this dynamic.
Yeah.
Like, do I open the door for her? Will she think I'm rude if I, you know, make a gesture towards showing interest? I mean,
Right.
that's a huge thing because, will she trust me? Will she think I'm a weirdo or, whatever? And so there's a lot of nuances that happen for a woman to know if somebody has an intention right out of the gate.
I think, yeah, the feminine is really it's so tuned in to the energetics around it and that flow of energy again that it's like often not conscious, but it is a feeling. And I think it's a really important.
Like it's an instinct, like it's a strong, like biological instinct, I think that women have developed for protection,
Yes. And
So,
it's a message to the masculine because it's that kind of situation is like, if I'm interacting with the woman and I even slightly start to get some energetic back from her, like, hey, she's closed up a little bit, she's reserved, then that's a signal to, hey, scan myself, check in. How are you? What is the energy you're bringing to this dynamic? Is there some intention that's not being communicated clearly or directly or kindly? And and again, I've been in relationships where things like this have come up, and I think there's ways to talk about relationships, about communication, about touch too, because that is an area that can often kind of be a somewhat of a slippery slope for couples because we're often not conscious of that exchange of energy. We just take it for granted. And so it's like there becomes assumptions, there becomes feelings. We're not necessarily always clear on who is doing and being done to and who's receiving and giving. There's a book called The Art of Receiving and Giving. And it's a really beautiful book that talks about these exchanges. Right.
yeah. So I think like just with that being the foundation, women are also always scanning intentionality and
Right.
is it matching up with her energy field at that time because women go through a 28-day cycle and one day it may be well received and another one it might not, So I was just listening to a fascinating podcast on, women in terms of their estrogen levels and how, they respond to just that gesture of energy. It's really like there is a window, obviously, like what that's why birth control exists, that a woman's more interested in touch than other days. Um, and so that can be like confusing terrain for a male, One day she likes me, the next day she doesn't, one day she wants me close, the next day she doesn't want me near her at all. Um,
I think too, as a male, as in a situation aware of this, and recognizing this, there is it can create some anxiety, I know for me, because in a situation, you might be like, okay, well, how does this person respond? How does this woman? So, for example, I went to a salsa dance lesson last night, and it
Mhm.
was great. And there were a lot of people, and you rotate and you switch partners. And at the end of the session, this was the first lesson of the new year. They kind of read their uh, guidelines, bylaws for participation. And there was very clearly a thing about like, hey, we want to be respectful of other people's space and we're dancing, but we don't want to infringe on somebody's comfort level. And, in that moment, like in my mind, I was thinking like, okay, there's a lot of different people here. Like what that level may be for any given person is going to be different. And so
Right.
it is important if you're going to be in the masculine lead role for dancing to kind of be feeling that out with the partner and kind of checking in, especially if it's somebody you've never met or danced with before. You know, I think it feels easier in that sort of environment because
Mhm.
there is this already like structure to it. And we're going to dance for a moment. We're trying to practice particular moves and then we rotate, so there's less ambiguity about the intention with the touch and why we're doing it and why we're
Right.
there, which I think is helpful. But still, I felt that nervousness, like hearing that, like, oh wow, did I dance too close to somebody tonight? Or, was I conscious of that? I was trying not to mess my feet up the whole time. So like,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Like I think too, having done this somatic work with, in the dancing way with many different male and female partners, when a woman's in the energy of a man that can direct and guide, especially dancing, not getting into the intimacy aspect, but from a dancing aspect, as soon as she feels really truly directed and guided by a male, she will automatically like fall more into surrender. But if the male's confused, the more confused he is, the more like less trust she has to not stay in that her own directive energy.
right,
And I know I've done this because when I did some somatic work and training and I worked with many different male partners. There was one in particular. There wasn't like a physical attraction to him at all, but like he was the favorite person that I wanted to dance with because I just felt so directed and guided and could trust him, like, to like if he leaned me back, that I wasn't going to fall on the ground, and he was actually smaller than me in terms of height, but I was just like, oh yeah, this man's got me, like my steps, my movement, like pushing me and forwarding me and pulling me and pushing me. And like, it was just really like nice to just be able to like fully let go and allow that person to do everything,
yes.
because really in the dancing space, a lot of is directed by the male and the female, follows. So yeah, I mean, it's more, if you take the physiological aspect from it, it's way more trustworthy when you feel a man take command of the space. In fact, again, I want to go back to because the biology just fascinates me. I was listening to a podcast on testosterone and I was talking about the estrogens. So when a woman is more fertile and she's in that window where she can conceive, her estrogen increases. And they did a study, and male's testosterone actually goes up in the presence of a female. In that window, it will actually cause the pheromones in the male to go up as well. And like if there was a whole bunch of men, say 10 or 15, um, they're going to vie for the attention of the more fertile women.
Mhm.
So it's just so fascinating. So but the one that the woman would trust would be the one that's more directive and more guiding and in control, like with his testosterone energy, not in a way of safety in the way that we're talking about, is this person going to hurt me? But is this person got me? Like it's the opposite. Like, do I trust this person to have me, and in a space where things might get more volatile. So it's just really interesting how biology mimics the energy of the sexes.
Yeah, and I think, the good news is for the men, the male partners, people wanting to embody the masculine energy, I do think that we can cultivate this awareness and this practice. I mean, I think that's part of the journey, but absolutely there's a difference. I like David Data will do that in some of his workshops. You'll hear him bring, five guys up to the front of the room, have them,
Yes, it's so fascinating.
yeah, have them
And the
say
women will
nothing.
all like unanimously say which one is a trustworthy man
Yeah,
and which one is not. Like that's what I mean about the power of intuition. Like women are picking and scanning the environment far above and beyond what men can even comprehend.
right,
It's like literally that is a perfect, perfect example you just mentioned. I mean, hands down, every single time the women would unanimously pick the man that they trusted. And and so it just goes to show that it's more than surface level acting or performance or behavior.
right.
It's genuine. It's a genuine energy that the male is bringing, to the environment. I mean, the tone of voice, the gestures, all of it.
Yes. Yeah, and I think it's a one of the again the skill set for the men for the masculine and really I'm talking about this is the work I'm doing for myself, right? Is to be able to be present in the moment without any attachment to outcome. So again, it's easy for me in the dancing because I'm like, all right, just right now in the moment, I don't want to mess my feet up. And hopefully this is fun for me and whoever I happen to be dancing with in this moment, But when we talk about, touch in a relationship dynamic, it can be, hey, I want to feel close to my partner. I want to create some closeness here. And I'm not, it doesn't need to lead to anything else. The touch, the closeness, the connection is for its own sake. It's not a precursor to sex or deeper intimacy or physical intimacy. And I think this is a tough,
However, on the other end, if a man is really attuned to his woman and she's not in the mood at all, and yet he's really attuned to her needs and her desires and her energy field, he can help her fall and surrender and soften to where the desire can, because she may be so stressed and her nervous system maxed out that she can't even go there.
right.
But if, like you were talking about intentionality, it doesn't, yeah, I mean, you can say, okay, whether this happens or doesn't happen, okay. But at the same time, you know, if a man can really be in that energy to really allow a woman to fully soften and fully say,
It,
okay, like I don't have to worry about tonight. This is all taken care of. Like I can put my feet up and now I can really engage on the level that women need, oxytocin, like they definitely need to have oxytocin present as a bonding hormone before they can even think about sex. So there's a lot of oxytocin a woman has to like receive in order to say, okay, now I feel I can soften that safety. It's like it's not necessarily that she thinks the man's not safe, but she's been dealing with stuff all day,
it
Um,
can feel like not safe though if she's feeling pressure that if he want because this is the thing that I talk to guys about and I say look it's important to be able to draw a distinction between touch and sex and they do not have to lead into each other but I think for guys in general men we aren't it's we're less touchy feely and in some ways it's not really allowed unless we're roughhousing with our brothers
Actually, that's not
or
true. The study this woman just did on testosterone, actually men require more touch than women. Women get the
no, men
oxytocin.
require it
Yeah,
but it's not allowed in the way that
right.
allows men to be present to that need outside of the I'm going to roughhouse with my boys or
Yeah.
I'm going to touch this woman who I want to be intimate with.
Right. But
And
overall, men like actually like require need more trust, touch than women. Actually, the studies show, but it's the oxytocin. It's the bonding hormone that a woman feels in terms of like I feel close. This person. is tending to my needs. I mean, I was just on a phone with a girlfriend this morning. It is so important that we feel seen and heard and understood. Like all of that has to be in place to even want to have sex. Like if I come in and I don't feel fully seen or heard or acknowledged, like that presence of the masculine energy, especially this is a big one that's been coming up lately when I talk to my girlfriends. It's like when the male is like wrapped up in his day and his stuff and like fails to really like hear and acknowledge the it's like the energy of not just hearing and acknowledging, but that curiosity to know a woman, like the curiosity to feel her particular essence. It's not just like, oh, we went to dinner and we had a conversation and you looked at me across from the table and you acknowledged what I said. It's like it's a sense of feeling felt.
Hmm.
Like, and not the felt, like the touch felt, but feeling felt,
Right.
feeling understood,
Yes, it's
which is really a feminine quality that might be very hard for men to quite comprehend.
it is. I think it is a hard thing for men to be in. And it's a hard thing, again, for men when they come into a situation with somebody they love and care about and are also like, oh, I'm needy and it's hurting this person, or I'm needy and it's pushing space between us. But again, I think that's often because we're
But that's a turn off for women because if a
100%.
male is coming needy and she needs something and his neediness is overriding her sense of needing to be felt,
Yes.
then it's a major turn off.
Yeah. It's effectively the guy falling into more of his own feminine anxiety, I'm beating myself up, self-reproach. I'm like, why do I need this? Why am I like, it's like it's because we don't want to repeat the same patterns. And that's
The
what,
more that I feel neediness, I almost feel like if I could energetically do something like this, like just stop, like get away, like
yeah,
back off, because it almost feels like an extraction of energy. Like the
correct.
way I would describe it is like you're wanting from me, and yet I'm not ready to, I haven't made that exchange yet. I haven't like, you know what I mean? It's like it feels more like vampire energy. Like you're wanting to extract from me, but yet you're not giving me anything that I need. And my need is not necessarily to go right to bed with you, my or, whatever the neediness is for a male, but like my need is again going back to I need to feel felt and understood and
Right.
seen, and only then can I feel like I want to be
And
intimate.
and that's the practice for the man, the masculine, is to come in grounded, breathing, nervous system regulated, even if wanting sex or wanting just closeness and cuddles or a back rub, whatever, it doesn't matter what it is, but bringing that same level of presence and awareness that this is what I'm asking for without any attachment to
Yeah, but
outcome. That's what creates safety.
but I'm curious, do you know what does work in that situation? Like, I'm just curious because I want to ask you, like, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but what might work in that situation for a woman?
Well, it's again feeling that there's no pressure and
But
understanding
if
that,
there was like a level of like playfulness, like from the man, like, oh, we might get intimate tonight, we might not get intimate. Like, I don't know. I'm going to be open to what happens. But if he wanted to make a gesture of like acknowledging that that could be a possibility without offending her, what could he do?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel like I try to very clearly let my partners know, like, I'm down. This is not like it's not you don't have to wonder if it's something I'm interested in. Like,
Yeah, but
I'm
that doesn't help her. That doesn't help her want desire. Like that's just still coming back to like the male saying, "Okay, I'm down, whatever."
Mhm.
But it's not provoking desire in her.
Right.
Yeah. Like so I guess what I'm getting at is there are things that males can do if they are coming to the table with, "Okay, I'm down, whatever," but there might still be a desire there.
Well,
And
for sure, but it's not being attached to the outcome. That's what allows
right.
the
So
safety.
remove that from the possibility. What I'm saying is if a male is okay, I've come to the table knowing I may or may not have touch. But if he wanted to help
I want to
deeper or
differentiate.
guide her toward,
We need to
yeah.
differentiate wanting just touch and wanting sex. Because the problem is it sounds like we're talking about those two things as one, and I think that's part of the problem. Because if I come and want just touch, that's a much more comfortable thing for me to express directly, and I don't feel like it puts the same pressure on a partner as I come to the engagement and say, "Hey, I want to have sex tonight." Those are two energetic. So me owning that, oh, really, I don't need sex tonight. I literally just want touch with you. Do you
Mhm,
want do we want to snuggle and watch a show? Do we want to dance? Do we want to, trade back massages? Like
mhm,
different so being clear about that. I feel like often a guy who's not working through this and becoming self-aware gets in the same thing, the same place where we're talking about different degrees, but we're treating it all kind of as one thing. And then guys will think, oh, the only way for me to experience touch is if it is sex. The only way for me to be held is when I'm having sex, and if I
mhm,
ask for something else, well, then it's weakness or whatever else.
mhm.
Does that make sense? Like they're,
It does, yeah, but I still don't think it like helps create the stage with if you're talking about touch for where she even that sense of safety that we started with where she feels safe to even begin to open. The opening process of okay, let's just talk about touch, like no sexual intention, like there's still a lot of softening that needs to happen. I
Mhm.
mean, yes, she might event it might just come right away and hug her partner or hold his hand or require touch herself, but that softening, that safety, that security, there are some really um like one of the like when you get into studying like the successful relationships is one aspect that makes trust or safety really available for both partners is play,
Mhm. Oh,
like a sense of play, like a sense of, okay, like, yeah, it doesn't have to be serious. Doesn't have to go into this space immediately. It's just play.
and it needs to, though, be done skillfully by the masculine because it can also, I mean, I've seen too many relationships where people think they're being playful and it's passive aggressive
Oh yeah, of course.
nonsense.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so it does need to come from a loving, playful place. And really, again, for the guy, I mean, I've experienced moments like this where I was like, where again, there's a little bit of tension. We're looking for connection. And I've made a comment that got like belly laughs from both of us. And immediately that's a connector thing. But
Mhm.
it has to be it was the perfect setup, the perfect
Right.
joke. Like, it has to
Yeah.
come out in the right time. And we have to kind of be, again, skilled at that.
Yeah,
And
because there could be the time where it lands wrong and she looks at you like, oh my God, did he just say that?
And that's why, again, the masculine has to be regulated and grounded because if you do try to put the joke out and it's not received well, now there's more space again. And so you have to be able to sit with that discomfort without being blown away by it. Cause then, because that's where the feminine's like, oh, he couldn't even take that. It's effectively, there's all of these waves of energy that are potentially coming off. I
Mhm.
think.
Yeah. But going back, like we were talking about, so like there's the initial people that meet in the dating world, but in long-term relationships, one of the aspects that's missing for touch or for safety and security from the feminine is that there's no play. There's no
Mhm.
like fun, joy, like, because and it goes back to like, how can I let go of like, especially in our day and age where women are out working just like men, running households, running jobs, they're busy, they're exhausted. And then it's like, okay, but we're supposed to relax tonight, but I have no fun, I have no joy, I have no, ability to let down my guard. And so play can be like a great way to, allow a woman to soften and surrender.
Yes,
Saying does it land well or not? That's the art of of the act.
I
But I think for women, it's really hard because there's so many relationships that are starving of touch
for
because they've quit
sure.
having fun together. They've quit like doing life together.
For sure. For sure. I would highly recommend the book, The Art of Receiving and Giving, for any couples that were looking for practices, because what's great about the book is it is about touch as an exchange of this energy. And Betty Martin, who wrote the book, she calls it the wheel of consent,
Mhm.
for understanding this. But it starts with literally just touching each other's hands. And
Mhm.
that's a safe, easy place to practice. It's not sexual. It's not, it doesn't intentionally is left out here at the hands to
But
people.
yes, yes, and I agree with that. Like it can be subtle, it's just the hands. And I would also say if the touch is really deprived in a relationship, she may not like if it's really, really bad, like I'm talking relationships that are, I mean, I've worked with couples in this work that have gone years.
Hmm.
I'm talking up to 15 and 20 years
Yeah.
without touch. And so, like, I mean, and I, when I did a polarity lab in the past, just to get them to touch was almost too much in the beginning,
Mm.
right? Like introducing the comfort of some level of vulnerability through play can allow her to soften to be like, okay, I can actually allow you to just even hold my hand.
Yes.
Like, because if there's a lot of stored resentment, pain, hurt, frustration, that can even be. I know, like, when I was in therapy with my ex, when I was engaged and we went to therapy, and I was like, when I'm hurting, I don't even want you to touch me.
Right.
Like you were talking about touch, right? Like just like if we had been in a fight, I'd be like, until I feel safe, you can't even put your hand on me. Like it was like that kind of thing, exactly what we're talking about. Like, and we were in therapy, and he's like, but that's how it makes me feel safe. Would like put his hand on my leg or hold my hand. And I was like, but I'm not even safe to go there yet.
Hmm.
Like,
So what's your work to do?
oh, well, like what worked for me in that situation was like him building a lot, like me feeling kind of going back to what I was saying earlier. I had to feel heard and seen. And once I felt heard and seen, whether he agreed with me or not, I had to feel that in order to even want to hold hands. If there was like we would call it like a discord or a dissonance.
Hmm.
We weren't in resonance, we were in dissonance. But there was some deep stuff there. And so like for safety for a woman, it may, when there's really like conflict or a miscommunication, it may even be like that she has to feel that I feel felt first.
Right.
And like, and as soon as I would feel felt, then I would open and I could hold hands, but I would just be like, I don't even touch me. Like just, it was a really strong no for me. And I think maybe I'm more sensitive than others in that regard, but in order to feel touched, I have to feel felt
Hmm.
first. Yeah. And I can't speak for all women, but I know especially when I'm hurt or sad or angry or frustrated, like I have to feel felt first. Like you don't have to agree with me, but I have to feel like you're trying to understand, like at least trying to understand. You don't have to understand, but just show an effort that you are.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes for people, again, in these situations, like we may have to take a step back and say, hey, I need a little time out so that I can come back and express what I'm feeling so
Mhm.
you can feel it or hear it and validate it, because sometimes, again, we get into that. It's just so intense. The emotions are so heightened, and now we're finding ourselves back and forth. It's your fault. It's my fault. Right.
Yeah, but I do believe that it is a strong feminine thing to feel felt.
Yeah.
And so if there's a relationship that's touch deprived, um, for the feminine and for the male, I mean, I can't speak for the male because I only know my personal experience.
Right.
But I think that's a huge one. And when I talk to my lady friends, it seems to be pretty across the board.
Yeah. This is such a really massive topic of
Yeah.
conversation. I think we could do 20
Right.
polarity labs talking about safety and about different practices and ideas for ways to better cultivate it, ways to regulate our own nervous systems, ways to support our partners and theirs. I mean, this is the work really is, you know, creating more ability for these energies to flow back and forth between the polarity. And yeah, it's such an important practice, and I don't think we ever really will get it done. I know I will continue to make mistakes and, not show up the way I want to every time, but I feel like I'm getting better and
Yes,
getting
you get
closer.
better by the day, trying to understand the opposite sex for sure. Um,
Yeah.
but I also just have to say, I guess before we end, or I don't know if we're closing or not, but I mean, if there are males listening, I think if you could just comprehend that when you're entering a woman, you are going into the most vulnerable aspect of her beingness. And so, if that's not happening, then, you know, there's even just going back to that felt sense, like there's a level of vulnerability that she might have that she doesn't feel safe sharing. But I mean, it's different, right? It's like a male, it's a penetration into a woman. It's different than like it's external. Like you're literally like, if we're talking about intimacy, it's a penetration into her being. It's a different experience. And so then you can only, if you can comprehend it from that vantage point, then all of her needs to feel seen and heard and felt in order for that to really be a positive experience.
Yeah. And when it is, and when the energies are there and both people are feeling safe and in their true expression of their feminine and their masculine, that's the beauty. That's the charge. That's the fire that's possible. And it's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to repeat that the Winter Wellness Fair that we were going to be hanging out at this coming Saturday is now postponed because of all the snow we're going to be getting here in Louisville and really across the state this weekend. So we'll be there on February 7th. We'll put out some updated videos but we're going to try to keep doing a polarity lab, probably at least maybe weekly, and keep getting these posted up on the social media. So we want you to keep coming back. And if you've got questions or comments or thoughts, please share it underneath these posts on the social media when we're putting them out there. And we would love to address questions and talk about topics that everybody else is interested in.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks for the topic today, too. It was a great one. It is
Yeah.
a very good one. I think a lot of people appreciate it.
Yeah, great to see you today. Thank you, Paige.
Yes,
I appreciate your heart and your knowledge and experience so much.
thank you.
All right,
Have a
we'll
good
talk.
one.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we'll talk later. Bye, friends.